Welcome to Knowledge 4, where we are talking about Greek myths. And today we are on Lesson 8. We are continuing with Hercules, and we're going to be talking about some of the other adventures of Hercules. We talk about that his greatest adventure has yet to come. Before we talk about his greatest adventure, let's go through our vocab words for this unit. I will read the word, you repeat it after me. Spectator, amusing, retrieve, flattered, unraveling, proof, aimlessly. Which of these words would I use if I wanted to describe, if I wanted to use it to describe a string being taken apart? Yeah, it would be the word unraveling. If I am somebody who is watching a sport, what am I? If I had no goal in mind and I was just walking around without any goal, what would I be doing? I'll be wandering aimlessly. Remember, today in our ReadAloud, we're reading about Hercules, and again, the movie version can be different from the book version. We've already heard some differences. Anyone know any differences they have heard so far? Anything that's the same from the movie and the book? What do you think Hercules' greatest, or what is the greatest adventure you have ever been on? Now, what kind of remarkable adventure do you think Hercules might have in the future? Again, as we listen to this read aloud, use the information from the text to make a prediction and demonstrate the understanding of the word guidance. As Hercules journeyed across Greece, he thought about what his friend Theseus had told him. You will never be free of the past until you have worked away your guilt and mastered your temper and your great strength. Go ask Apollo, the god of wisdom and truth, how to do these things, and remember always, you have a friend who believes in you. Hercules traveled up into the mountain until he reached Delphi, where there was a famous temple built to honor the god of Apollo. In a cave behind the temple sat a priestess. When someone asked her a question, she would go into a trance as if she were asleep, and Apollo would speak through her. The words would come from her mouth with her voice, but the Greeks believed they were really Apollo's words. Hercules asked for Apollo's guidance or advice, and the answer came back. Go to King Eurystheus and do as he commands. Thus began perhaps the most famous of Hercules' many adventures. King Eurystheus sent the hero out to perform the most difficult tasks he could think of, 12 in all. And these daring deeds became known as the labors of Hercules. A labor is a job or a task. So Hercules has 12 jobs to do. Based on what you know about Hercules, what do you think these labors might be? And maybe it'll play into his strength. The first of these labors that King Eurystheus commanded Hercules to complete involved a large and dangerous animal. King Eurystheus was a small man, and he paced nervously back and forth in front of the throne as he spoke to the huge Hercules, who stood listening. In another part of Greece known as Nemea, the king began, there lived a dangerous lion. You, Hercules, shall subdue the lion so he won't hurt anyone. I am told, though, that the lion's skin is magical. No material known to man, such as metal, wood, or stone, can cut the lion's skin. You will have to think of another way to stop it. Bowing, Hercules said, I do not know how I can do this, but I will try. Do you think Hercules will be able to subdue the lion? How? However, as he left the throne room, he thought, perhaps this story is not accurate. Perhaps the hunters simply may have not gotten close enough to shoot their arrow at the lion. But I will bring my bow and arrow, as well as my heavy stone club. Hercules journeyed to Nemea and at last found the fierce animal out in the forest, sleeping in the midday heat. Hercules moved forward until he had a clear view of the beast. Then the hero drew an arrow from his quiver and set the end of the string to his bow. Drawing back the string, he took careful aim and then let go. But the arrow bounced right off the lion. His hide was indeed magical. The lion was unhurt, but it still felt the blow. It awoke and leapt to its feet, roaring with rage, and then charged Hercules. Throwing down his bow and arrow, the hero stood waiting, his heavy stone club in hand. When the lion leaped at him, Hercules simply stepped to the side and let the lion sail right past him. Then Hercules struck with his club, which would have been powerful enough to knock down an elephant. But the Nemean lion, protected by its magical hide, did not suffer terribly from the impact. It only sank to the ground for a moment, stunned. The club, however, had shattered into hundreds of pieces. Can't use the bow, can't use the club. Knowing that in a moment the large cat would leap to attack again, Hercules turned and leapt upon the lion's back. Then Hercules reached forward and grabbed the lion's front paws so that it could not turn against Hercules. The furious beast rolled onto its back on the ground and tried to shake him off, but Hercules' strength was too much. He was able to subdue the lion. Catching his breath, Hercules thought. The report was true. The lion's hide protected it from my club and my arrows. If I could wear it, it would provide me protection against swords and arrows. How can I possibly do this? After trying many ways to get the hide off the lion, Hercules had a brilliant idea. He lifted one of the lion's paws from the ground and used the lion's own claws to cut the hide. So that is how the Hercules slew the Nemean lion and succeeded in completing the first of his 12 labors for King Eurystheus. What do you think some of Hercules' other labors might be? King Eurystheus smiled as the large man in the lion's skin who stood before the throne. Hercules, said the king, I have another labor for you to attempt or try. I want you to bring me 3 of the golden apples of Hesperides. This startled even Hercules. But your majesty, those 3 magical sisters live beyond any land to which humans have ever traveled. According to stories, in the middle of the garden is a tree from which there grows apples of real gold. The sisters keep the tree location secret, for otherwise people would constantly trample all over the place just to get the gold. How am I to bring you these apples if no one ever knows where they are, or even if they even exist? The king shrugged. If it were easy, Hercules, I would not need you. Now go. Does this labor seem more difficult than the first one? Do you think he will need to use his muscles or his brain for this task? So Hercules, who had traveled throughout the known world, now set sail for the unknown world. He sailed west, and after searching in vain for several weeks, he thought, there must be a better way to find the Hesperides. Suddenly he grinned. Wait a moment. I cannot find them myself, but I know where to find someone who might be able to help. You see, the Hesperides were the daughters of the biggest and strongest of all giants, Atlas. The giant used to rule the world before Zeus became the king of the gods. After Zeus became king, he punished Atlas for fighting against him by having him stand and hold the entire sky on his massive shoulders so that it would not fall down upon the earth. Hercules journeyed until he found a range of enormous mountains. In the middle of them stood Atlas, bent beneath the weight of the sky. Hercules shouted, Hello, Atlas! Atlas squinted downward, calling in a deep voice. Who is there? It is I, Hercules. I have come to ask a favor. Then Hercules explained his mission to clear his reputation as a man of bad temper, ending with his request. I hoped you might direct me to your daughters and their garden. Atlas replied, I would gladly do so, but my daughters made me promise never to tell anyone where it is. I cannot break a promise, not even for you, Hercules. I would get you the apples myself, but I dare not set down the sky. Thinking for a moment, Hercules said, I am nowhere near your size, Atlas, but you know how strong I am. Perhaps I can hold the sky while you go and get the 3 apples I need. Atlas had stood unmoving for so long that now even his ideas moved slowly. Finally, he agreed, warning, Brace yourself, Hercules. Even you have never held a weight such as this one. Slowly, the giant lowered himself to his knees and transferred onto Hercules' shoulders the weight of the entire sky and everything in it. Even Hercules, strong as he was, staggered a bit, but then he found his balance and said, All right, I have it now. Hurry back, Atlas. The giant strode away with mile-long steps. For a long time, Hercules stood bent beneath the immeasurable load. At last, Atlas returned and showed Hercules the golden apples. But, to Hercules' horror, Atlas told him, I have held the sky almost from the beginning of the time until today. I could never set it down. Now I know someone else is strong enough to take over the job. I will take the apples to your king. Do you think Atlas will come back if Hercules let him take the apples to King Eurystheus? Hercules did not like this idea at all. Knowing how slowly Atlas thought, however, the hero answered, I did not know I would be holding the sky for so long a time, Atlas. So I was not careful enough when I took it from you. There seems to be a planet rubbing against the back of my neck, and it is starting to hurt. I'm afraid I might drop the sky. Before you go, please get the blanket from my pack over there and slip it between my neck and that planet. Atlas tried, but his hands were just too big and large that he could not get the blanket from the pack. So Hercules suggested, How about you take back this sky long enough for me to get the blanket in place? He handed the load to the giant. As soon as Atlas held the sky once more, Hercules said, I'm sorry, Atlas, but Zeus chose you to hold the sky. Thank you for bringing me the apples. Atlas sighed, realizing Hercules had turned his own trick back against him. I suppose it's only fair. Well, Hercules, come back and visit old Atlas again sometime. So Hercules took the apples to the king, completing another labor, and Atlas never again set down the sky. Hercules completed all 12 labors after defeating the Nemean lion and retrieving the golden apples. Once he did, he was free to leave the service of King Eurystheus. He once again traveled all over Greece, completing many heroic deeds, but this time he was always thanked for them. How do you think Hercules feels now compared to how he felt at the beginning? So what kind of guidance did Apollo give Hercules? Why do you think Hercules obeys King Eurystheus? What does Hercules have to do in this myth? What were some things that were difficult? If I said you have a Herculean task ahead of you, what kind of test do you think you might have to do? Yeah, if it's a Herculean task, it'll probably be one that has to use great strength, or it's probably something that's kind of difficult. Yeah, and our word work word for today was the word guidance. I will say the word, you repeat it after me. Guidance. What does UI make in this word? Yeah, UI is making an I sound. So why is this word considered a tricky word? Yeah, it's a tricky word because UI doesn't we haven't learned makes the I sound. What do you think the word guidance means? So guidance means giving someone advice or helping them to make a decision. So I think this picture, some signs kind of give you advice, tell you how you should be driving. So if I see a sign with the word bump, I know the guidance it's telling me is to slow down. That's the advice it's telling me. Without guidance at the pet store, Josh felt like he wouldn't be able to decide which pet to buy. Have you ever given or received guidance? Again, in your Greek myth journal today, write a couple of sentences about what adventures would you do in this myth? Give me one reason why you would do that adventure. Again, we have two more read alouds left in our Greek myths. We will continue on. Enjoy.